movie is a whole vibe, and I loved it. But before we dive in, the first thing I want to talk about is guess who wrote this movie? Oh my goodness. It's the debut screenplay of Justin Kuritzkes. Who the heck is that? Well, that's Mr. Celine Song, thank you very much, who just got a ton of attention for her breakout movie where she was not only the writer and the director. Kuritzkes here is just the writer. Just the writer. What a debut. But she did Past Lives, as you can see. And that movie was at least semi-autobiographical. And I gotta say, let's just say she didn't make him look very good in that movie. But he's actually on fire. No wonder she was able to resist her childhood love. This guy, he's doing really well, at least professionally. This is his debut screenplay, and his next one is also going to be for Luca Guadagnino, adapting the novel Queer, with a killer cast. And I'm really excited about that movie now that I've seen this one. New Hollywood power couple? And on that note, I do wonder if he and Song have ever been a throuple, because that's right, we have ourselves a throuple movie. And so she wrote from real life experience, and so I wonder if he has, because it was really interesting the way they explored that dynamic, and I think ultimately really sold it. I'm not into throuples, but I was rooting for this group of people. I was like, oh, they're great. They just work as a throuple. And I have to say, it is a throuple film, but it goes as far as it can while still trying to court mainstream American audiences. Can you make a throuple movie for mainstream American audiences? We'll see. Challengers, though, I think, if anyone can do it, it's this movie. So we'll see. I think it might succeed. The movie is so well done and so sexy, it reminds me of previous sexy American movies that have pushed the edge of the envelope, although Europe is like, you call that pushing the edge of the envelope? You guys are a bunch of wieners. But, we are. So for us, this is a lot. And those movies became pop culture sensations. And, Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct. Michael Douglas made a lot of these movies. 9.5 Weeks, The Crying Game, Cruel Intentions. And Cruel Intentions is an interesting comparison, because Challengers is perhaps closest to that one. Because unlike the other movies, Challengers also isn't very graphic. The furthest that Zendaya goes is a somewhat see-through bra, and there is some full frontal in the guy's locker room, but not from any of the stars, although you do see Josh O'Connor's backside. But for the most part, this film has intense, very intense make-out sessions, including, let's say, the opposite of that famous Sarah Michelle Gellar and Selma Blair kiss. If the MTV Movie Awards were still a big thing, I think they still air, but if they were still a big thing, they would love Challengers. What makes Challengers, what is the equivalent though today? TikTok? Let's see how social media reacts. What makes Challengers stand out though is the tension. That's where it really is sexy. You can cut it with a knife or something else if you'd like. The movie is just very, very sexy. And for instance, just in like the mood. Like Guadagnino loves a pair of short shorts. On all of his tennis players, and sweat sensually dripping off of their entire bodies. There are some great sweat shots in this movie. You're like, wow. In fact, I'm very impressed that Guadagnino is able to stay true to himself as an artist, yet still delivers his most commercial and mainstream film to date. Like, it's still very much a Luca Guadagnino film, but he did it. He made it more commercial and mainstream. That's impressive. Sometimes a lot of artists will lose themselves in trying to make that transition. But what makes a star is someone who can, again, keep what makes them unique and what excited people about them in the first place, yet still expand to a broader audience. We'll see. But I think this is a very good shot at that. Challengers is a party where anything goes, but you're invited to watch safely from the sidelines. And unlike some other films like this, Challengers sets its steamy interactions in the preppy, pristine world of professional tennis, which includes Ivy League schools, country clubs, major product endorsements, and hotel suites. Exploring the business side of tennis and also how relationships and careers mix, and often do not mix, was also, to me, fascinating. along with not just Zendaya's agency, I really liked her character, but that she's actually not playing a very likable character, yet still a very realistic one. I loved presenting a woman in this light. I think these elements, as well as the film being more tasteful but still very sexy, is why I prefer it, incredibly so, to films like Poor Things or Saltburn, and why I think it has a shot at a wider audience. Now, apparently some people are criticizing Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's score for this film. Those people are nuts. This score is incredible. I think it's what pulls the entire film together. When it kicked in with the opening scene, I was like, what is this music choice with this amazing zoom? I was like, oh my God, what are you doing, Guadagnino? And then I was like, Guadagnino, you're a genius. Oh, I loved it. I think it pulls the audience more into the film. And throughout the movie, I was tapping my foot to the music. The soundtrack is already out. I got it as soon as I left, and I've listened to it a bunch, including while writing my notes for this review. It gives the film that party vibe. I think it loosens the audience up, and it also increases the energy and tension. It gives you the high that Luca Guadagnino and company are trying to portray. The high of not just chasing your dreams, but also someone you're attracted to. And I think this movie is asking, is that the same high? Isn't that interesting? And also, are these characters getting the two highs confused, right? Like, are they actually attracted to Tashi Duncan, or that she's a shortcut to their tennis dreams? And is she even attracted to them? Like, I think at the beginning of the movie, they're just a way for her to, like, scratch an itch, let's say. But I think when she can't play anymore, as the trailer depicts, they become a way for her to still achieve her dreams. They're all using each other. But but not in a malicious way. Again, this crazy relationship, I think, really works for the three of them. I think that's what Challengers is getting at, though, as our three leads are constantly chasing this high or trying to desperately recapture it when it slips away from all of them at certain points in the movie. I just think that was fantastic. They have, for all the very highbrow locations in the film, there was one scene in an Applebee's where Zendaya's character really has her guard down. She's very vulnerable, and I really loved that scene. And I think the Applebee's was a really important choice because it was a contrast, intentionally so, with all the other locations for the most part of the film. It's just such a smart film. At first glance, it might seem like just an excuse for a lot of sexiness, but you know what? It's a very smart film. It's very well constructed, not just, with the acting and the directing, but the script. This is an extremely strong script. Pay attention to what the characters are saying and doing. And the way that it all comes back together for the final act is truly amazing. The callbacks, the way it was set up, what a payoff. I could see this getting nominations for Best Original Screenplay, just like Song did for Past Lives. As I said, again, her first screenplay. Again, what a Hollywood power couple. The film is, though, top to bottom, incredibly well constructed. Zendaya is a producer on this film, full-on producer, and I think she's learned a lot from Euphoria. Only, again, she makes this film more commercial than Euphoria. Like Euphoria, though, I think Challengers is really plugged into today, particularly millennials and Gen Z, who prefer social media and streaming to the multiplex. Can Zendaya prove that with the right movie, Hollywood can get those generations back into the multiplex? That would be, if she can succeed here, that would be big for Hollywood overall. Also, kudos to Amy Pascal. Who would think she was so plugged in? Being fired from Sony after the email scandal was devastating for her. She had a little bit of a nervous breakdown. We all saw it. But her ability to rally perhaps deserves its own movie someday. In addition, she makes some crazy choices, but good for her. I'm really glad that Amy Pascal is still in it. In addition to Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, where she started her relationship with Zendaya, the Venom films, and the Spider-Verse movies, she's of course done Greta Gerwig's Little Women, and now Challengers with Zendaya producing. And I think it shows Pascal's ability to produce exciting female-led content that truly understands the modern female psyche and perspective. I'm super impressed. Guadagnino, wow, that he's able to be so cutting-edge modern. He's also not a member of these generations, is a testament not only to his work, but his openness. Oh, I loved it. It's interesting. Hacks Season 3, which I got to see in advance and starts May 2nd, explores something similar. That just because you aren't in these generations doesn't mean that you can't understand what makes them tick. And Guadagnino is an excellent example of that. This guy's plugged in. A lot of his directorial choices here are really inspired, especially how he shoots the tennis matches. I've never seen anyone film tennis like this. It's exhilarating. I wonder how he got those shots where the ball comes so close to the camera. It was really, really cool. You're like, wow, do it again, Guadagnino, and he did. And you're like, wow. As a member, he's a member of the LGBT community, and he's greatly improving the quality of LGBT storytelling, not just in Hollywood, but now as he makes challengers mainstream Hollywood. It's something that Hollywood desperately needs. And so I'm so glad that Guadagnino is a part of the conversation, and he's just doing a great job. And he is discovering top talent. He put Timothée Chalamet on the map, and I think Challengers is going to do a heck of a lot for the careers of Mike Faist and Josh OConnor. Also, side note, that Darnell Appling is the tennis umpire for the very important match in the film is an inspired, important choice. And kudos to Appling for making such a strong impression with a small role. He's almost the fourth character in the film. He's fantastic. Tarantino has already spoken about how Faist didn't get enough recognition for his work in Spielberg's West Side Story. I totally agree. I think a lot of us agree. It was criminal how he was overlooked. But I hope that now Mike Faist will finally start getting some calls. Maybe from Tarantino. Why don't you call him up, Tarantino? Faist, who also, by the way, did a West End adaptation of Brokeback Mountain, just leaps off the screen here, both as a scruffy nobody and then later in the film as a clean-cut tennis superstar. That he's able to do that journey and do it justice is also really impressive. The tension between him and Josh OConnor is just off the charts. It's as sweet as it is sexy. There's one scene, I don't want to give too much away, but there's one scene where they're eating churros together in a school cafeteria. And while the scene couldn't be more chaste, it is perhaps one of the hottest, if not the hottest, scenes in the film. The way Josh OConnor moves the stool with his foot and the churro sugar on OConnor's face that you can see. I mean, it was just an incredible scene. Josh OConnor, I can't believe this is the same guy who played young King Charles. I mean, wow, taking this role was a great move for his career because it totally breaks open the idea of what he can do. At one point, it's remarked that his character smells because he's having a tough time for a large part of the movie, and you can almost smell him through the screen. It's a really bold, no-holds-barred performance. Personally, I find Faist more appealing, but professionally, I'm equally impressed with both of them. Really, for the film to work, though, you need to love this throuple as much as the throuple loves being a throuple. And amazingly, to the entire movie's credit, again, top to bottom, by the time it was done, again, even though I'm personally not interested in a throuple, I was rooting for this threesome because they just work. I was like, wow. And that modern Hollywood is moving in a direction where they can not only do these situations justice, but explain them really with respect and organically to the wider group at large. Well, that's what Hollywood has always been supposed to do. Broadening horizons through the guise of entertainment. And still being entertainment. This is a very entertaining movie. But again, what it does for throuples, I'm amazed. Finally, Zendaya. You can't have a throuple without the third member, right? She's very good here, as always. And she lends her real-life celebrity to Tashi Duncan's fictional celebrity. The movie wouldn't work without her, but to be honest, to some degree, Faist and OConnor run away with the film. Maybe that's because they're such a welcome surprise. We already know that we love Zendaya. However, she's a producer on this movie as well, as I said, and she's responsible for our reaction to them. So like Tashi in the film, Zendaya, the producer, is also taking very good care of her two little white boys. So that's my review of Challengers. It is a sexy movie. Keep that in mind when you decide who to see it with. It is very sexy. Very, very sexy. And the soundtrack, fire. As I said, already out. Love it. Been listening to it a bunch. I highly, strongly recommend it. You know, of course, they also did the soundtrack for the Facebook movie, right? And this to me reminds me a lot of the Facebook movie. I wouldn't be surprised if Guadagnino hadn't studied that film as well when making this one. It's like a sexy Facebook movie. It's great. I loved it. All right, so share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And by the way, I hope it's remembered during awards season. It's a little early. They pushed this film because of the actors' strike. So it's a little early, but I hope it's remembered. It should be remembered. It deserves to be remembered. I think it's extremely strong. All right, so again, that's my thoughts on challengers. Share yours down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.